Welcome back to The Big Idea. Okay, tonight we've got a show for all you who've had someone stand in your way and keep you from doing something bold, something new, something potentially worth millions. They said your idea would never work. Well, tonight, revenge is a dish served cold, or I guess took that rejection, turned it into big money, and they're going to show you what to do next time your idea gets shot down, like my next guest who came up with something called Fizzy Lizzy.
The company, Fizzy Lizzy. It's back to basics with fruit juice and carbonated water, mixed the way you do it at home, and sold in 9 flavors. Fizzy Lizzy started with a mere $40,000, but found its way into gourmet shops and upscale supermarkets. And last year, according to the company, Fizzy Lizzy brought in $1 million in sales. But it almost didn't happen.
There's Morrill, founder and CEO of Fizzy Lizzy. How you doing, kid?
Great. Nice to meet you.
Okay. Everybody at home is sitting there right now going, you know, I would be further along. I would have millions. I would have had that next job if only that one person wasn't in my way. They told me no, or they said I couldn't do it. So you're going to kind of help starting this turning around tonight as far as you had a great idea. We're going to get to that idea in a minute. And everybody said no. Everybody said, no way, you can't do it. Here's why. And you didn't let them stop you.
You got to believe in yourself.
All right, so let's start. You have this great idea about just putting real juice together with real sparkling water. Mm-hmm. Who was the first person brought it to you that said no?
Well, everybody I talked to in the industry, you know, impressed upon me how tough it was, especially for a woman, and that this particular drink was difficult to make. But I remember in particular a meeting that I had with one executive at Beverage Marketing Corporation, which is kind of the Rolls-Royce of beverage industry consulting firms. And he was very generous in giving me his time. And I went up to his office. But no sooner did I sit down and tell him the idea than he said, come on, come over here. I want to show you my graveyard of failures, which is what he called it. And he took me to a room next door that had bookshelf upon bookshelf of beverages that you've absolutely never heard of. And the whole point being that, you know, the odds are incredibly stacked against you. Give up before you start.
And what was his reason? Why was he telling, obviously here there are bad ideas out there, whatnot. Right. So what was his reason why you're right, because it didn't get to you? What he said to you, the reason this is not going to work is because?
I think just because statistically it's just so tough to make it.
Everyone else is new. I mean, so what?
Right, right, exactly.
How did you know to kind of not let that deflect you?
I think that, you know, intuitively, I mean, I just knew I started the company because I always mix fruit juice and seltzer at home. When I go exercising, I you know, bring separate bottles. I used to mix them together. And everybody I know, at least in New York, which is where I'm from, used to do that as well. And so it was just a real gut feeling that I had. And the funny thing is, he doesn't know what kind of favor he did for me, because it wound up actually making me even more determined to prove him wrong.
Well, because I want to give a little inspiration for folks at home. How did you turn that? Because a lot of people, when an expert says no to them, or their boss says no to them, or somebody, well, it must not be a good idea otherwise. So how did you intuitively know how to make that work for you?
Well, you know, obviously I did prepare sample products for friends and even people in the industry, and people love the taste. And, you know, the anecdotal feedback I got, when people love the product, I think you just have to ultimately believe in it. I would say that if you're sitting there and you don't have 110% belief in yourself or the product, then you should scrap the idea. But one of the reasons that I started the company was that I'd always fantasized about doing something like Fizzy Lizzy. And I thought to myself, you know, I didn't have, funny thing is I was in my mid-30s, you know, a lot of my friends were farther along. I didn't have a boyfriend, I didn't have a baby. I thought at least I could have a beverage. And, you know, I just thought, of all the words of tongue and pen, the saddest art might have been. And I thought, you gotta try it, you'll never know.
So who were some of the other people along the way? What were some of the other rejections?
Well, you mentioned boss. Actually, a former boss of mine, when I did tell him that I was gonna, you know, leave to go do this, he said, Liz, he said, don't you think, I mean, he was a real sweetheart, but he said, don't you think that all the top executives at Coke and Pepsi have thought of that idea? He said, you know, they've got the top marketers, they've got the top R&D people. Don't you think that they thought of it? And the fact that they haven't done it suggests that it's not viable. And I thought to myself, no, that's not what it
They
suggests.
haven't, or they wouldn't be spending $4 billion for vitamin water or $300,000 for Fuse.
Exactly.
They don't.
Exactly.
And that's, everybody wake up out there. Anytime you think you have a great idea and you go, well, but the big companies, no, they ain't that smart. Trust me, that's what entrepreneurs are about.
Exactly. And the culture is totally different in a big corporation too.
So how'd you finally get it off the ground?
Well, I made literally about 125 phone calls to find the right bottler. Long story short, I wound up also calling a food scientist in New Jersey who I thought could make a prototype for me. When I couldn't afford his services, I asked him for an information interview. He was generous enough to grant it. We completely hit it off, and he ultimately suggested that he become my business partner. And then, you know, it was just perseverance. It was just phone call after phone call.
But the interesting thing, business partner, he told you it was originally going to be 50 grand for him to make a batch of 4.
Yes.
You didn't have that. And you did something very smart.
Well, I said, and I didn't really know how honest to be about this, but revealing that I didn't have that kind of money. But I finessed it somehow, and I said, you know, can I come talk to you for an hour? Of course, whatever your hourly consulting rate is, that's fine. And he said, absolutely fine, just come talk to me. And I did. And what I assumed was going to be a 15-minute long meeting blossomed into a 2-hour-long consultation because we hit it off so well. He thought the idea was great. And then 2 weeks later, he sent me a letter saying, I think what we should do is go into business together.
And he took 2% of the company instead. So you can give away little pieces of the company when you at the beginning. I think that's a fantastic idea. Okay, what are the messages out there for somebody out there right now who has something, they're being told no, they're being blocked? What do we say to those people out there?
I think go for it, but you know, do your homework. I mean, I was very inexperienced in the business. That's not necessarily a good thing, but I think just have the passion. Just absolutely have the passion and go and be, you know, don't take no for an answer in a nice way.
Don't take no for an answer. Give me another instance where you got to know when you turned it around, whether it was selling it into a store, because this is all about how do we get past that rejection.
Well, I mean, you know, there are oodles of stores that I got rejected from initially that we've ultimately gotten into. You know, we are now doing a really beautiful business at a fabulous gourmet food chain here in the city called Citarella.
So how did you first, I know Citarella, how did you, tell me the no, and how did you finally turn it into a yes?
The no was basically, first of all, even if you can get through to the people, you know, you're lucky. And the no is just, you know, no, we're not interested, we don't have enough shelf space, you know, whatever. And you just basically have to, every 3 to 6 months, try back. And, you know, it could be that the buyer has changed and moved on. It could be that one of the existing products they have in the category has failed, and so there's room for you now.
Keep going. Why 3 to 6 months? 3 to 6 weeks, man.
Well,
whatever. So what was the final? Give me the meeting where you finally got that first yes.
In Citarella, I actually drove up to their warehouse in the Bronx and met with him. And this often happens. He took one sip and he said, "It's great. We'll take it." I mean, that's
there you go.
Yeah.
And how many rejections from that one store?
Oh gosh, I mean, probably 5 years worth.
All right. You don't take no. When they tell you no, that means it's probably a good idea. I don't care if it's a boss. I don't care if it's a distributor. I don't care if it's a store. Like Liz, you believe it here, you keep going. Liz Morrill, founder and CEO of Fizzy Lizzy. Okay, don't let anybody shoot your idea down. Don't take no. We're showing you how to turn rejection into millions tonight. Don't go anywhere. Thanks.
Thank you very much.